We will switch directly to our democracy slam on today's Innocracy. Hello everyone and good afternoon. Welcome to the Democracy Slam on the future potentials of representative democracy. And before we start, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you. I know it was a pretty hard and tough day with a lot of interesting and thought-provoking insights, so thank you for being here. As we all know, and as we heard today, representative democracy is under pressure in Europe and across the globe. And the idea that politicians should be no more than a mere transmitter of the will of the people is gaining popularity. But at the same time, we see that societies appear to become ever more polarized on vital issues, attitudes, and values. And that's why it is important to ask, and we're going to do this now, how must representative democracies adapt in order to escape this quandary? What deliberative and direct democratic procedures can complement representative democracy? And more importantly, how must they be designed? And in this format, our speakers will give thought-provoking and precise inputs on the value, weaknesses and untapped potential of representative democracy. My name is Manuela Barisic and I'm a visiting fellow at das Progressive Zentrum. And I'm delighted to be your host at the Democracy Slam. I'm very happy to welcome Roman Huber to our first talk. Roman is the managing director of Mehr Demokratie, a German organization which focuses especially on direct democracy, civic participation, transparency, and reforms of electoral laws. Currently, Mehr Demokratie is aiming at implementing citizens' assemblies at national level on democracy and climate change. Without further ado, Roman, thank you for being with us today. The floor is yours.
So, thank you for giving me the floor. First of all, I will a little bit break the order and not giving a slam or something like this or precise things, but I will tell you a story. And I will answer that question very precisely, but not with my answers, but the answers of citizens after a 4-day deliberation. So to explain this a little bit, I will tell you a story, and often these random selected stories, they start in Ireland. This is the Irish Prime Minister, Enda Kenny, a conservative one. This is the Irish Constitution. And he implemented the first constitutional convention. And you all know that story about gay marriage and abortion, and they discussed it, and many of you know the story, the touching story of Finbar O'Brien, the homophobe post officer who met Chris, the Dubliner hipster, gay, and they went into a friendship, and her discussions, they went around the whole assembly. And perhaps you all read the brilliant article Bastian Berbner wrote on that topic. Some of you know them. Who knows it? Bastian Berbner? Okay, some. And we read that brilliant piece of newspaper and article on the Citizens' Constitution. And then I got a phone call from the Schöpflin Stiftung and the managing director. And he called me, Roman, can we do that in Germany? And I said, of course we can do that. And said, okay, then you will present it to me in 6 weeks. So, and I laid down the telephone call and said, oh, how are we going to do that? I had no real clue how to do it. Yeah? But I knew whom to ask. Then we formatted a consortium, and we went to Ireland to meet Enda Kenny and all the guys, and they explained us how this kind of citizens' assembly really worked. So we had the setting. Next thing is, what issue or what question we want to deliberate on. And then we had an idea, let's just, and there were issues like migration, like inequality, like climate change, like, and so on. But we are the democracy nerds, so we wanted to do it on the issue of democracy. And then we looked into the government treaty, and there we find that quote. Perhaps you can read it yourself. You got it? So, our proven parliamentary representative democracy, proven, I think that's from the conservative, yeah, because it was like a mixture. And the question is, how can we enhance democracy by adding civic participation or deliberation, direct democracy in other forms? So that was the key question of our Citizens' Assembly. Then the next thing is, we had the problem in Ireland. The guys, they had a political mandate. The parliament was the initiator of the assembly. In Germany, we don't have that kind of mandate. So we tried to get one. And then we designed a process with 4 steps. This in the middle, this is the Citizens' Assembly. And to organize a Citizens' Assembly like this is not that difficult. But how you bring the politicians in and how you secure that the proposals which the Citizens' Assembly works out have an impact on politics. So how you get in politics, that was the question. So we designed a step pre-conferences, handing over day of democracy and the implementing phase. So a 4-step process. And then we thought we need something like a patronage, a high political figure who will support that. And as you know, the stairs are swept downwards. We started with the head of state, which is, who is it? Steinmeier. So we went to Steinmeier. And it's not so easy to get access to him, but we managed it, and we said that is the concept, and he was really in favor of it, and he said, yes, bring in some other guys, then I will support it too. Then we went to the second head of state, which is Wolfgang Schäuble. And I lost some of my prejudices, or how you say, Vorurteile, yeah? Because he said, all right, I will support that. And he wrote us this letter. It took us nearly half a year to get that letter from him, yeah? But it was really important. Then we said we do some pre-conferences in the whole country, because Germany is so much bigger than Ireland. We need a decentralized first step. And in that pre-conferences, we invite also politicians to get them in the process. So we asked the heads of the parties, like, you know him? Next one is Brinkhaus, the chief of the Conservatives. And we, of course, made a conference in his electoral Wahlkreis, how you say? In his constituency, so that raises the probability that he will come. So, yeah? And we did that with, so yeah. And then we went to Koblenz, and who knows who is in Koblenz? At that time, it was Andrea Nahles. So, and we had some conferences and some special places, and we invited them. This is Bodo Ramelow. Oh, a little bit. That is fast. Bodo Ramelow, the Prime Minister from Thüringen. This is Britta Hasselmann from the Greens. And then was the discussion, should we also invite AfD? And we said, okay, this is a democracy project, of course, we have to invite them. And we did that. And we were a little bit like ängstlich, anxious. And I went to all the tables while the conferences where AfD members of parliament sit. And what was interesting, it worked out perfectly, because we set the moderation, we set the rule, and they fit in. it was a little bit the other way around. Sometimes it was necessary a little bit to protect them from the citizens, like, really. But that was not too hard. So, that were the pre-conferences. Then, the next step was now in September, 2 big assemblies on 2 weekends in Leipzig with 160 randomly selected citizens. So how we did the random selection. First, in Germany, as you know, we have 11,000 communes. So we put them in classes, and then we selected from every class first communes, 100 communes. This is or 98 communes. Then we went to the Einwohnermeldeämter. How? Can you come to me and please the registration offices and ask the mayors to randomly give us some sortition-based addresses. And that was a big discussion with the data protection people, but we managed to get the addresses from 76 communes, at least. Then we wrote to them and said, what is your migration background and what is your highest educational degree? So we had rural, urban, gender, educational degree, migration background, and age. So we had random selection and a sample. And it worked out like this. You see the greens are the communes, and then you see should be and how it was on the left side. And that's pretty okay, gender and elder. And the right is the average in Germany, the real average. And this is how we get it. Gender and age was okay. You see educational degree. There we have Hauptschule, that means the lowest grade. There we had a problem, 7% to 30. And as you see here, migration background was better than in society. So somehow also pretty okay. Then the Bundesländer, Hessen is under the shirt because Frankfurt and Kassel didn't give us the addresses. So then they suddenly go down. Yeah? But you see it's not too much, too far away. So that was the random selection, and this looked like this. This are 160 people, and you see all kind of people were here. The process was moderated not by us, but by an independent Prozessdurchführer? Independent facilitator. And these are the 2 moderators. And they had a really tough plan. So you had expert input, pro, con, and then discussion. So 4 days, 2 weekends. The expert was in the whole plenum, and the discussion were on small tables with 7 people, 1 moderator, and 1 who documents the whole stuff. So plena, the whole, and of course you need the small spaces that everybody can talk, that there is a secure space, that there is connection, relationship building, and so on. We had a chair, perhaps you know him, Beckstein, the former Bavarian prime minister, and formerly a very hard law and order man, just to open up that process also for the conservatives. And he really made a very important job because he somehow is an elder person and he gave that assembly kind of dignity. And that was very important. And we had a lot of press, and in that process, I think like meanwhile 500 printed articles in 2 weeks, including FAZ, Süddeutsche Zeitung, Tagesschau, everything. So reach a huge media impact. And now to the outcomes. We had 22 questions. The people themselves created the questions. Not we did, but the people themselves did it. And I give you just the first 3 because they are interesting. So, now. The first question was, should there be further elements of citizens' participation? You see, the majorities are huge. A little bit less, should there be supplement of direct democracy? But the most important thing is that should there be a combination of citizens' participation and direct democracy got the biggest majority? Because the people realized that there is a triangle. In the middle, you have parliamentarian and representative democracy, and you have the second pillar, deliberation and direct decision. And every angle has strengths and weaknesses. But when you design it in the right way, and that is the crucial point, every strength can balance out the weakness of the other. Like deliberation is always the problem, you don't have really legitimation. And when it comes to power issues, it went into the waste paper basket without anything. Then you need decision making. Then you need referenda or initiatives, or people can decide. The weakness of the referendum, you all know, complexity, only yes, no, and all this kind of stuff. And you can this combine with citizens' assembly in front of every referendum, obligatory, for example. And things like that, they managed. And one very important small piece is this, that politicians can correct the results of referenda and citizens' participation. That first sounds like, why? But I think that is a very ripe understanding of democracy, because democracy never is finished or never ends. And it's always a process. And when people can correct parliamentarians, also parliamentarians can correct them. So this is kind of collaboration, it's a kind of respect, and it's a kind of working together. And also the people, they sit there and they realized within 4 days, I changed my mind 3 times on the same topic. So why should this, in the end, be the wisdom? And they realized there is no such thing like the truth or the will of the people. This does not exist. So this is a very ripe understanding of democracy. So now we will hand that over, and that's really like this. Better. We will hand that over in November 15th to Wolfgang Schäuble and the other politicians with a big party, 2 minutes, that's cool. And we will do an aerial art performance in front of the Reichstag, like a thing like this, yeah? Which many people with a symbol of democracy, which we still are not knowing, but it will come up. And we will have 1,000 or 2,000 activists, and it will be a helicopter flying over this with Reuters and DPA and all these kinds of guys, and the pictures will go around the world, and then we will hand over the proposals to the parliament. Yes, that's the idea. So, and you all can join. You can be a piece of art here. You can be part of the picture. And then the struggle and the fight will begin, will come up in the 4th phase, because then it will be very interesting what will happen in Parliament. So, and this will be the next year. And parallel, we are planning the next Citizens' Assembly on climate change, but this is the story for next year. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Roman, for the insightful story. We wish you all the best for the 15th of November for the handover. And now we will switch directly to Martina, to our second talk. Martina Handler is joining us today. Martina is a political scientist and mediator leading the Program Area for Participation and Green Investment of the Austrian Society for Environment and Technology. And as a consultant and researcher, she has been dealing with the topics of public participation, sustainable development, social and democratic innovation, as well as gender and diversity for many years. Martina, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for sharing your ideas and thoughts with us.
Thank you very much. I have to disappoint you. I do not give you an analysis and an outlook what will be the best for the representative democracy, but also give you a short example what could be one good approach. As this example Roman introduced to you was very actual and is ongoing, so we thought we will give this introduction more room, and I want to very shortly introduce to you a format which has in German the same name, Bürgerrat, but it is a pretty different format. In English, Wisdom Council. And it also consists of randomly selected citizens. We have implemented this kind of format in Austria in many, many different contexts on local level as well as on provincial level. And it is a format of 1.5 days, randomly selected citizens sitting together and reflecting upon a question or a topic very freely and dynamically. I say dynamically because they are hosted by a facilitator which is trained in dynamic facilitation. And that means that the facilitator follows the energy of the group, follows what comes up, and the group is very free to set the agenda, to talk about what they feel are the really burning questions in that field, in that topic. So we did, for example, the province of Vorarlberg, they implemented such a wisdom council on how can we welcome and integrate refugees in our communities in Vorarlberg, for example. Or we do such processes, for example, on very delicate topics on Nazi history and how can we live with this responsibility and design a good region in the future and things like that. And this format is quite different because of this Roman presented, because the main focus is on designing a creative environment where mutual understanding, where innovation and creativity can come up, and something new emerges because of that reflective quality of conversation. And we think it is very a very necessary quality when it comes to transformation and the future challenges we see, that we have this reflective quality in our conversations, which bring people to reflection and perhaps changing their opinions. And they do not do this in classical discussions. because they're not listening but arguing, and winning with the best argument is the approach. And in these kind of settings, a slow process with very attentively listening is the main attitude. And we see that people go out from such a process and have a much better understanding of what political decision-making means, because they see that there were people with so many different opinions in the room, but how difficult it is to find something what is best for the whole group. Because everyone has the right to have a different opinion, and now looking what is best for us all is an inspiration for how difficult democratic decision making is. And so they go out and say, I've never thought that political decision making is so complex. And but also that it is so interesting. And we see that this kind of processes are repoliticizing citizens in a way that they focus on the common good. Because also right-wing citizens are politicized, but they learn in these processes to reflect on what is really the common interest besides our individual interests. And these processes are also proving that citizens can tackle very complex issues when hosted in a good way. So concluding, I would say this is one thing that would make democracy better, the representative democracy, when the processes also in classical political decision making would be hosted and facilitated in such a way. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you. Martina, you can stay here. Roman, please join. So thank you both. Thank you, Martina, for your input.
No. No chairs.
Do we need chairs? No.
Only 5 minutes left. So
Only 5 minutes left. So now it's up to you. Has anyone a question? Okay, I see 2 hands. And here we go. Please, one question.
The first one to raise my hand, but
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more about this facilitation thing. I asked that before. You mentioned dynamic facilitation. Are there any other specific tools that you find particularly helpful for these kinds of Bürgerräte besides the dynamic facilitation?
Thank you. Martina?
It is a kind of more facilitation. I mean, the dynamic facilitation. I don't want to explain now, but it is a mindset that I create a safe space where judgment doesn't take place. So I protect each opinion. And I really welcome the different opinions, and do not want to very easily find a solution where we touch each other, where we come together. Because first, I want to encourage the different opinions, and then after having everything in the room, I introduce the convergence. But it is very important to open the room for the whole diversity.
Thank you, Martina.
Roman, you said you didn't have a direct mandate, but a patronage, and now in phase number 4, it's on the politicians to go on. How do you make sure that the results from the first 3 phases will have an impact on that?
Yeah. We asked the people if he want to accomplish that next year, the 160 citizens and the other some hundreds before. And they said, yes, we could imagine to go to our personal parliamentary member. Then we have a huge advisory council, like the trade unions, the churches, the elders, and so on. They can support it. Then, first of all, we asked from the politician that they give us an answer within 1 year. So when we hand it over, so this also gives like a kind of moral pressure. So, and the rest we will work out. And perhaps because I didn't mention it, I have seven conclusions out of that process, personal insights. In the end, I can give it very shortly if you want. Yes? But perhaps not now. Okay. But in the end.
Will you manage this in 1 minute?
Of course.
Okay. Go ahead. Time is ticking.
First, Citizens Assembly work on a national level also with very abstract issues. That for me was not clear, and I see it worked out. Second thing, this is why when you address people as citizens, it changes everything. You talk to them not to a consumer or Wutbürger or something like this. You address them as citizens, and that brings them in an attitude of responsibility. And they act and think different, second. Third is, we as initiators, we didn't interfere to the process. And when I was going around and listening, I really watched myself having fear that the people could decide wrong. Like, oh, what if they are against direct democracy? Oh God, yeah, then we can close down. So, and I really watched this, and I can advise to every politician, just let go. Trust the process. Fourth is, the people are normally under-challenged, not over-challenged. They are under-challenged. You can make much more things with them than you normally think. Fifth, it's just a long minute, yeah? Form follows function. It's not the only process, it's like this or that. You first have the issue, and then you design the process related to the issue. So it can be 2 weekends or 4, it can be different formats and so on. Sixth is, I recognized we need deeper education for the moderators. That must be a profession. That must be a study, something like this in the future. And the seventh, when we all have implemented this, then the real interesting thing will come. Then we can, for instance, when we do a Citizens Assembly on climate change, you cannot only address things on an analytical thing, because when you work a little bit with that, then you always go into states of apathy, of fear, of anger, and then you need places where you can address this emotional stuff too. So we need citizens assemblies or formats where you also can address that emotional and psychic stuff, and that will be an update of assemblies on constitutional convention, and that is then the next interesting step. So, thanks.
Good. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for joining our Democracy Slam.